supposedly light week, an awful lot happened. Yeah, there's some top 15 games. I'll obviously talk about them, but what was going to allegedly be a sleepy midweek, we had some big-time stunners the last couple of days, some record performances, and we're in it now, folks. Season few weeks old. We're past the point of, oh, maybe we'll see. Now we've seen. Welcome to the latest Gauer Hour. Rob Joyce, making Gauer. Fun show today. Originally only had a couple of games to recap on the doc that we put together before the show. We'll talk about some notable things we saw, preview what is a pretty good weekend ahead. Good games tonight, Friday, Saturday, and then Sunday. And then we'll introduce a fun new thing we'll do now through, I don't know, New Year's. I think I mapped it out. Each week, we will pick a historic program. Megan and I are going to draft teams from said program. You'll tell us who would win this hypothetical matchup. We'll post the teams on social. We're going to go in ABC order, so we will start today with Baylor. But Megan, how's the week been? Are you in full Thanksgiving prep?
I am actually getting on a flight for Thanksgiving, so I'm not really doing any Thanksgiving prep. Though I think the Christmas tree might go up this weekend because I'm just in need of some joy. I'm usually not a Christmas before Thanksgiving person, but work's been a nightmare, and I'm just like, I'm ready for the holidays.
Well, now if I make fun of that, I'll feel bad.
No, I'm usually very firmly like, no, Christmas until after Thanksgiving, but being I'm not even going to be here for Thanksgiving, it's kind of like, well.
That's right. You're doing the very American Thanksgiving tradition of going to Europe.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll talk about that when the time comes. Busy week. Big time matchups for the number, what are they ranked? Third, fourth in the country? Doesn't matter because UCLA might be the best team in the country. Couple of fairly comfortable wins over top 11 teams. Oklahoma on Monday, and then last night just wore down UNC in an impressive win in Vegas.
Yeah, I think you can make a couple arguments on who's the best team in the country, but UCLA certainly has one. I mean, last night and the game against Oklahoma, both, like you said, pretty comfortable wins. And I think the thing that stood out to me the most is, like, we talked about this team's depth, and it's really like 6 players right now, especially because Sienna Betts is still injured. But even with 6 players, like Angela Dugalich off the bench has been insane these last couple games. She had, I think, 14 points and 13 rebounds against Oklahoma. And then again, another 14 points last night against UNC. And it feels like, especially in that Oklahoma game, I thought she was the difference maker, and that like Oklahoma really didn't get anything from its bench, and UCLA got that performance.
Yeah, these 2 games I thought were a very good example of the depth. I know they have some injuries. Tamia Gardner's also week to week with Sienna Betts, but just the amount of weapons that they have. On Monday, you saw, Dugalich off the bench, 16 points, 15 rebounds. Monday was why you went and got Gianna Neepkins from the portal, where Betts, Rice, and Jaquez combined to go 12 of 39. Betts had 7 turnovers, and it doesn't matter because you have this new option in Neepkins who had 20. Great, you win. Well, Neepkins was quiet last night. Kiki Rice didn't score in the first half, and it doesn't matter. She had 15 in the second half. Betts had 6 assists. She's the best passing big in the country. She obviously gets her scoring-wise, 20-ish points, and then Dugalich again off the bench. And we haven't even mentioned Jaquez, who had a couple of big threes last night. And then, Sienna, Tamia Gardner. They're going to come back eventually. Didn't mention Charlize Ledger-Walker. Like, an abundance of riches that isn't, I don't think, so much better than everyone in the country. But, yeah, I mean, they're on the short list. I think the only reason people wouldn't put them above UConn is because of what happened technically last year.
And I think this is a better UCLA team than last year. I don't think that's really a crazy thing to say. We talked about the addition of Neepkins, Charlize Ledger-Walker. Like, there are more weapons there, especially offensively, than this team had last season. Like, they've taken what was already a Final Four team last year and then added 2 very proven top scorers that have both in their own right been top scorers in the country on another team at some point in their collegiate careers. So like you said, this team just has a wealth of offensive weapons, and I think that's really been on display in these last 2 games. And that, like you said, you don't need Lauren Betts to score 20 to win. You don't need Kiki Rice to score 20 to win because there's so many options. Any player in that rotation can have an off night, and there's still plenty to go around.
And 24 assists on 32 field goals last night. Honestly, I wasn't discouraged by North Carolina at all. I know they only scored 60. They hung around in the first half, and then I think they just got worn down in the second half. UCLA doubled them up in rebounding, 24 paint points, and I think it was just we can't hang for 40 minutes with this Final Four national championship caliber team. But I was actually I don't want to say encouraged by North Carolina because they lost by 18, but I was fine with how they played for the most part.
Yeah, I agree. I actually felt better about them coming out of that than you would think from an 18-point loss. And I think a lot of it was that first half. It kind of felt like a tale of two halves for them. But I made my notes for today during the first half and then closed my computer at 10:30 or whatever the second half tipped off. And I said North Carolina could score, which maybe didn't come true in the second half. But I thought their first half was really, really good. And that like you said, they did keep pace with UCLA. They were able to go on some runs. I thought Alina Arsenal, I'm going to learn how to say her name better. I'm struggling. But I thought she's a great addition from UCLA to North Carolina. Really has helped their scoring offensively in that first half. And like you said, they got worn down. They couldn't quite hang around for the whole game. But in terms of like, what can UNC do in the ACC? Like, I feel very confident after that performance that like, yeah, they're going to be a top team in the ACC.
Yeah, I'm curious who their go-to is. Renee Kelly, just 2 points last night. India Naivar, 4 of 13. She's probably the answer. Arna Salo, I know she led the team last night with 13. She seems more pass first. Maybe that's just because she played at UCLA last year. They didn't need her to be a big scorer. Nyla Harris, a nice addition from Louisville. So, they have a lot of good talent. I'm just curious if they're down 2 with 10 seconds left, who has the ball in their hand. And we'll learn that at some point, which wasn't last night. And then Oklahoma on Monday. I don't want to say discouraged. They lost by 14. Just surprising things for a team that was, I think, top 2, top 3 in the country last year in rebounding. They were minus 16 on the glass. They allowed offensive rebounds on like 40-ish% of misses. I want to say, or at the very least, they didn't get many offensive rebounds against UCLA either. They were good at that last year. So just some question marks early on. I think you saw limitations of Oklahoma, if anything.
Yeah, I wasn't too discouraged just because they went 4 of 17 from 3, which, like, this is a team that has always kind of relied on the 3-ball some and is generally a very good 3-point shooting team. So I don't worry about that too much in one game. And obviously we're talking about a very probably different game if they just go 7 of 17. So I don't worry too much, but like in a game like that, right, when you have a Lauren Betts in the post and on the flip side for UCLA, when you have a Beers in the post, like, you've got to make threes because they have such a presence in the lane and it's going to be hard to get to the rim. And UCLA made their threes. Oklahoma did not. But a couple of things that just from an Oklahoma standpoint stood out to me. They're not getting a ton from their bench still, which like it's early. There's still times to figure that out. The other thing that stood out to me through the first few games is like Reagan Beers has to make free throws. She shot, I think, 30% from the free throw line in that game, similarly in the first game of the season, and like she's just going to go to the line way too much to be leaving that many points there.
Yeah, I need to clarify. I totally misread my own notes. Oklahoma last year typically got offensive rebounds 40% of the time. They only got about a quarter of them against, which you might expect against UCLA, but wanted to clarify that. They didn't allow 40%. I agree with you. And Beers only played 40 minutes, and she only had 7 field goal attempts. Now, you mentioned she got fouled a lot, 3 of 9. She picked up 2 quick fouls in the second quarter. She sat for about 7 minutes. In those 7 minutes, it went from a tie game to a 10-point deficit against your UCLAs, your South Carolinas, your Texases.
Right.
Reagan Beers needs to be on the floor, clearly. And then when combine that with Sahara Williams, she was 4 of 17. Very little in the front court outside of Beers. 4 points from your bench. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty obvious. If Beers has an off night against this caliber, they're probably not going to win.
Right. Which, I mean, like, but a lot of teams will say that, right? Like, if you're All-American and doesn't have a good night against the top team, you're not going to win the game.
What do you make of Aaliyah Chavez here early on? She had she went 4 of 16 against UCLA. She rebounded. She had like 29, a bunch of threes against, I forget which team they beat the crap out of on Wednesday. Kansas City. Yeah, what do you think of her here early on?
I think she's been solid. I mean, she's a freshman, right? So like to ask her to go out and like lead this team against UCLA in game 2 of the season, game 3 of the season is like, I don't think a fair ask. Like I get that she was a top recruit. Like I don't think that's a fair thing to put on her. Like, so yeah, not a great game against UCLA, but it's the first time you're playing in that kind of environment, playing against that kind of talent. I don't think it's necessarily fair to expect her to show up and go off. I know we've seen freshmen do that, but like it doesn't necessarily change my opinion of her that she doesn't in that game. And then, like you said, against the, Kansas City, she's able to kind of show off. So I think it's just going to take some time. And I think that's fair to expect with freshmen. Like, I don't think freshmen even top freshmen are going to be where they're going to be in March in November. Like, there's going to be a lot of growth.
Right. Everyone, remembers Juju in her first game scoring like 30 in an upset, and Hannah Hidalgo, even though they got blown out by South Carolina, like balled out and had that highlight reel in her first ever game. It's like, oh, this is just the norm. Like, it's not the norm.
No.
We'll talk about this game in a bit. Ask Jazzy Davidson. It took 6 quarters, math. And then, hey, she started to figure it out, and she looks really, really good. I will say, you mentioned the word environment. I feel very validated on me ripping on neutral site games last week. Very validated. Monday in particular, I thought was a very much wasted opportunity for the sport. Top 10 matchup, 2 of the best post players in the country, Lauren Betts, National Player of the Year candidate, top 3 WNBA draft pick in all likelihood, all these super future pros and very good college players. It's 10:30 at night, Eastern, in front of less than 1,500 people in an NBA arena that holds 17,500. Instead of being on campus and what would have been a chance to see some stars out at Poly or a crazy environment in Norman, like, was there some little kid who went in Sacramento and, she's a big fan? Like, probably, sure. But like, this sport is not bulletproof enough to waste an opportunity of putting top 10 teams on a Monday at 10:30 in front of dozens.
I mean, that Xavier game where they lost by 25 at home, though, really needed the primetime spot.
Sure did. Yes. I mean, if I'm UCLA, if I'm Oklahoma, I'm the Big Ten. I'm disappointed in a TV partner in Fox that they kind of just threw away this opportunity. And for that matter, I mean, last night, sure, it was 9 o'clock on ESPN. The attendance said 1,600 people because that includes game 1, Fairfield-USF, which is a wildly entertaining game. We'll talk about that in a bit.
Yes.
If there were 1,600 people there, then I am 7'2" and jammed. Like,
yeah.
Who benefits? I guess the schools, again, they're probably getting some money.
Yeah.
And at least ESPN2, you're going to get eyeballs, but like, it's a bad look for the sport when you have number 3 or whatever against number 11, and it's 90% empty, and that's what it was. It was 90% empty.
Yeah, agreed. And it's like, I mean, I see it more for a Fairfield and a USF, right? Because like the money there goes a long way. Like those conferences don't have a ton of money to kick around, but when we're talking like Big 10, Big 12, like these power, like, there's already a lot of money.
Not enough money, Megan. There's never enough money. Big Ten's going private equity because they don't have enough money. They only get, $1 billion a year from Fox or whatever. I could rail on that for a long time. However, I'll move on to the other neutral site game that I think there were some people there. Good game on Sunday. USC-NC State. Welcome to college, Jazzy Davidson.
Yes.
She's good.
Yeah, she's very good. I was impressed.
Folks, you can only find that here.
Yeah, I was really impressed by USC in this game. I think there was a lot of question marks for this team going into this season, and I think this was a great step in answering them early on. I mean, you said Jazzy Davidson obviously looked really good in this game. Her and Kennedy Smith as a duo in general, I think, is a really fun backcourt duo, and I'm really excited to watch how the two of them evolve this year. And then obviously, like, you don't want to get ahead of yourself here, but it's like fun to think about what this team looks like next year if you have those two and then Juju in that backcourt. Like, that is easily going to contend for best backcourt in the country. But specifically in this NC State game, I think you see exactly why, like, London Jones is a great addition out of the transfer portal for this team. Just having that firepower off the bench. She scored 19 points. It's just another offensive weapon that, if things aren't going right, can step up and come in off the bench, score a bunch of points, and USC picks up a ranked win and skyrocketed in the AP poll. I think they were 18 preseason, another number 8.
Yeah, I think people just wanted to see it.
Yeah,
for real. Yeah. And you can see Jazzy, obviously she struggled shooting for the first game and a half, but you can see how she affects the game in so many other ways. She's similar to Juju in that she's a tall guard. She's 6'1". Obviously Juju has more bulk to her. She's more built. Jazzy's lankier, but still 5 blocks, 3 steals. I will say the execution by both sides in the final 20 seconds was largely terrible, with 2 exceptions of the inbounds drawn up by Lindsay Gottlieb with 10 seconds left was great. Risky to get a shot up that early after the inbounds and to leave NC State that much time. And then the block by Malia Samuels was great. Everything else around it was terrible. Missed free throws, but those 2 plays in particular, were really, really good. Yeah, and it wasn't just give the ball to Jazzy. Like, obviously she got a layup on the inbound, but Malia Samuels comes up. That's someone who didn't really talk about in our preview, but she started the first couple of games. Yeah, this is a much better USC team than I might have thought. I thought they'd be pretty good. This team could be really good.
Yeah, I think we're seeing early signs of like how good this team could be. And yes, an ugly finish, but I feel like that's exactly what you expect in a early season, late game execution. There hasn't been a lot of time to practice on what we're gonna do in late game situations yet. So I'm sure that will get better. And then on the flip side for NC State, like I didn't really take much away from this. Like I still think they looked pretty good. Camille Pierre had a rough shooting night. She was 4 of 16 from the floor, but you get 24 points out of Zoe Brooks. Traeger on the boards was still really good, so they're continuing to get some of that front court presence that we talked about last week. So my opinion on them didn't change. I mean, I don't really ever feel like my opinion changes all that much on a team on a 69-68 type finish. Like it's just who made the basket down the stretch. But I didn't really have any strong takeaways from NC State on this one.
No, I mean, Zoe Brooks is a star. She's looked really good the first couple of games. She's going to score. She's going to distribute. She's going to rebound. Can they get enough from Zam Jones, Caden Samuels, Devin Quigley consistently in the backcourt as kind of that secondary option through 2 games? Yeah. And then the second straight game, only 1 bench option scored and only a couple played. But again, you can shorten your rotation against Tennessee and USC and these quad 1 games. Now, I didn't even look. They played, I think, Maine the other day. Let me take a gander really quick. I assume that they got some probably important minutes into their bench. Here we go, pulling it up. Yes, they played a bunch of players off the bench, extended minutes. So now you can see, will one of them crack this instead of a top 6 into top 7 when they play? They have another game on like Sunday. So eventually, will that rotation grow at all? If it doesn't, that's okay. That's my only.
I mean, like we've seen plenty of teams win a whole lot of games with a 6-player kind of core rotation. So I don't think it's a huge concern as long as there's games in there where you can get those players rest and bring in others in the rotation. But I also think, like to your point, like getting everyone else minutes like allows the chance for the 7 through 11, 12, however many they've got on this roster to get those reps in game time, and maybe someone does emerge as someone that you trust on the court in these bigger games.
That's a nice segue into other random takeaways from the week. Teams with short rotations, even blowouts. Not often I have to do a double take, but not only did I not believe upon first viewing that Hannah Hidalgo had how many steals, I went to the box score because I was like, that's not accurate. That's not possible. 16 steals. Overshadows the fact that she also had 44 points inside a program record in 28 minutes. We'll talk about the Notre Dame larger, but I mean, geez.
Yeah, crazy. I mean, 16 steals is just insane. Like there's many teams, I didn't actually do the math, but I guarantee you there's many of teams that probably don't even have 16 steals this season, let alone a single player in a single game. So just really like kind of hard to put into words like how insane that is. That's like 4 steals a quarter from one person, and she only played 28 minutes. So
yes. Let's go to the bottom of this. So let's see. Well, the bottom 10 teams don't have 16 steals. Let's go to page 7. She had more steals in this game than about, I don't know, 40 some odd teams. 45 some odd teams have so far this year. Mind you, that's 2 or 3 games, but yes, that's a lot of steals. From a Notre Dame standpoint, they played 3 nobodies. We'll learn more about them. They play Michigan on Saturday. These are the type of games that we need to see, because I have a feeling that's going to be like a 6-player rotation for the big games. Yeah. They desperately cannot have Hannah Hidalgo playing 30 some odd minutes against the likes of whoever the heck, Akron and Purdue, Fort Wayne, some of these other ones.
Yeah, my only concern with this team right now is like, I mean, they didn't need Hannah to have 44 and 16 to win that game this week, but like, how heavily are you relying on her? And obviously, she's a great player. Like, that will take you far. But when you're talking about like, can they win the ACC, things like that, I just like someone else is going to have to step up. It can't be Hannah scoring 40 points every night.
She takes a third of their shots. That's a lot. But I mean, other people at KK Bransford's look pretty good. Kassan Prosper's looked pretty good. We'll talk more about them on Saturday when they play Michigan. And then efficient minutes, Audie Crooks.
Yes.
20 minutes, 43 points. That is also a lot of points in a very short period of time against Valparaiso.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I don't really care who you're playing. It's still impressive to score 40 plus points, especially when we're talking about not in 40 minutes of game time, and very efficiently. And I think this is kind of the Audie Crooks that people expected when they kind of had that burst onto the scene during the tournament when they beat Stanford, or almost beat Stanford. What was that, 2 years ago now? And then kind of didn't deliver on the hype last year. But I think this team is probably quietly a little bit better than it was last year. And if Audie Crooks is playing at this level, like, that's going to take this team in the right direction.
The early signs are promising. The offense was never the issue, at least with me. It was always the defense. It's looked good early on. They've also played 3 nobodies. We'll see. They'll play at Drake next Thursday. Remember, Drake beat them last year, right?
Yeah. Or I think it was UNI that beat them, but it was an MVC school that beat them.
Yeah, I know. Oh, you might be right. Yeah, because Drake just got blown up by Iowa. But they're at Drake next Thursday. And then they play Iowa on 12/10. But the early signs, yeah, they're promising. We'll see once they play a team. I'm just checking now. Oh, they lost to Iowa State by 2. Drake did. Oh. That's right. And then Northern Iowa beat them. I got my Iowa schools mixed up. My apologies. I know that's a thing.
Yes.
Other quick ones. Fairfield, South Florida, ESPNU. That was the game before UCLA, UNC last night. That was fun.
Yes.
Really, really fun. Did you watch that?
I watched bits and pieces of it. What stood out to me here was, like, when we talk about this Fairfield team, a lot of times you're talking about Megan Anderson and how good she is. And she had a rough night, and they still found a way to win this game. I got 17 points off the bench from their freshman Christina Pham. Like, I just thought you saw that this team has multiple ways to win, and I think that's exciting when you're talking about a team that, like, I mean, what is it, a couple of years they went like undefeated or close to undefeated, made the tournament on the auto bid last year, again in the tournament on the auto bid. Like, I think this is a team that maybe has potential to be an at-large team this year. Like, they're slowly making strides in that direction.
Yeah, they basically have to run the table and then, I guess, lose once in the championship game.
Right.
But they have opportunities. They have a road win at Villanova. We'll see how that ages. South Florida should be a pretty good team. The record might not show it. South Florida has a brutal schedule.
Yes.
They play North Carolina tomorrow, and they're at Iowa at the end of the month, and they're at Richmond early next month. Win a couple of these, maybe. Like, last year's bubble was really, really soft. Mm-hmm. Obviously, we'll see how it plays out in January, February. But yeah, Fairfield can make an early case, like, now.
Yeah.
Soon.
Richmond Fairfield should be a very fun game. That is a great matchup when it gets here.
South Florida lost to Fairfield, has UCLA tomorrow. That makes sense. They're all playing each other in Vegas. Hey, maths. They're playing Duke, and they're playing UConn, and they're at Vanderbilt, and they're playing South Carolina. So their record is probably going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They're going to be like 5-6 heading into Christmas. And then they might win the American. Won't be indicative of how good or bad South Florida actually is, because that's a brutal schedule. And of course, they lost their coach a week before the season.
Yeah.
But kudos for scheduling that. I mean, talk about getting yourself ready for a conference that you've won most years since UConn's left.
Well, yeah, I think so. Maybe there's been a gap or two in there, but pretty much every year, I think, since UConn left. And they were always, when UConn was their, like, team number 2, very clearly.
Yeah, I always felt bad because it feels like UConn played like their A+ game like every time they played USF. Well, that's not indicative of how good USF actually is. Shout out Katie Lamro. She was great last night for the Stags. Other quick hitters, South Dakota beat K-State yesterday, 72-71. Patience Williams, a 3 in the final seconds. Not your Aokali, Serena Sundell, K-State. Also not your great Slarkins Coyotes. A lot of fun basketball in South Dakota between them and South Dakota State. Maybe the 2 best teams in the Summit. South Dakota State is. We'll see where South Dakota is. Shout out Purdue Fort Wayne. Beat Purdue at the buzzer. So the superior Purdue lies in Fort Wayne, not West Lafayette. And then shout out UMBC. They're just making a habit of they beat Virginia and things in basketball. Wire-to-wire win. Virginia and Purdue, you make Wolf watch for the week. Both of those 30-point plus favorites. Don't lose. Anything else from the week that caught your eye, Megan, before we move on?
Just like a 5-second mention on the Belmont Tennessee game last night. That was
yeah.
an
Let's talk about that.
entertaining one. Yeah, I mean, I think Belmont wasn't able to pull out the win. They lost it in the fourth quarter there, but I mean, I think continuing on what they look like against Oklahoma, like you feel pretty good about them after a loss. I feel like they probably get like an Ohio State or something that's coming up on the schedule at Kentucky. Like they could definitely win one of those games. From the Tennessee side, it was impressed with like the fight back in the fourth quarter, but like they've got to find a way to hit threes. Like this team is so dependent on the 3-point shot, and I think we've seen a lot early season here and just like the variability in that 3-point shooting. And I think they shot in the 20s from three last night, and you're taking that many threes and shooting in the 20s. It's going to be hard to beat teams in the top tier of the SEC like that.
I mean, this feels very similar to last year, right? Where they had the ability to. They beat UConn. They beat anyone else good? No, they had a lot of missed opportunities until they beat UConn. But they also have the ability to lose to Georgia. Like I feel like there's no team that has the ceiling of Tennessee that they can beat UConn on a given night. They can beat South Carolina on a given night. They could also go out and lose to a team like Belmont, who respectfully, very good team. Tennessee should win that game at home. And it's because of the 3-point shooting where I don't feel like they've improved last year. It's still very much quantity over quality. Yeah, they made 9 threes last night. That's great. 9 threes is a good number for a game. It shouldn't take you. I'm sorry, they made 7. Shouldn't take you 34 tries.
Right.
And if it does, one of these days you're going to hit 16 of them and you're going to beat the crap out of someone that maybe you shouldn't. Maybe you should just beat by 6 or 8. You're going to beat them by 15. Also, games where you're not going to hit anything and you need a big fourth quarter to beat Belmont at home, a game that Tennessee needs to win.
Yeah, and to me, like, I get the 30 strategy, but also, like, you had such a size advantage on a Belmont team. Like, why are you taking 34 teams? Like, go to the rim some more. I just don't understand.
Yeah, I mean, 20 turnovers. They still, they still had how many points in the paint? They had 30 to 30. Okay, it's not as good as I thought. 23 points off turnovers. Yeah, I mean, take care of the ball and have decent 3-point defense and hope Tennessee has a off night and you got a shot.
Yeah.
Regardless of whether you're South Carolina or Belmont or who's the worst? Missouri. Like pick your lower tier SEC team.
Yeah.
And conversely, turn the ball over and let Tennessee make a bunch of threes. And whether you're South Carolina or Belmont or Missouri or whoever, you'll probably lose. And that's not something you can say about too many teams.
Yeah.
Because we saw like UT Martin, that was a game for 40 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So eyeballs antennae are up. Again, it's November. There's lots of time. Just take a note. All right. Decent weekend. Nothing happens Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. But decent weekend. It starts tonight when in front of what I'm sure is, again, going to be friends and family at the Greenbrier Resort in West Virginia, where West Virginia at least is playing against Duke. First to 50?
I literally have the same thing written in my notes. First to 50 written all over it.
I mean, they both have scored against, again, lower tier opposition. It's the big opposition, especially these two just defenses just so smothering can get after it that it could be ugly. It could be fun.
Yeah.
Don't sound so excited.
I know. It's like one of those, like, it's going to be a close game. It's just how entertaining is it to watch teams struggle to hit the 50-point mark. Sometimes it's very frustrating. I mean, this is the first time we've seen Duke tested again since the loss to Baylor to start the season. I feel like we need to see a little bit more for them. I'm like not as high on Duke as I was going into the season right now, and that's probably an overreaction to one game, but like I've got to see them be able to find a way to score more against quality opponents to like think this is a team that can make a deep tournament run, can win the ACC.
I was excited by the debuts. They had a couple against Norfolk State. Ariana Robertson, 12 points, 12 minutes, and then Emily Skinner. Carol Lawson was really excited about her. She played 13 minutes, had 6 turnovers, but 5 assists. Yeah, Lawson seemed really excited about the debut of Skinner going forward. So it seems like she's going to play a big part. West Virginia, they lost J.J. Quinterly. They forced 20 turnovers. Like, if they force 20 turnovers, turn those into some easy buckets, I think West Virginia can win. If Duke takes care of the ball, I like the Blue Devils, despite your reservations with them.
Agreed. I still like them in this game. I question the longer term prospects if they can't find a way to just score the ball a little bit more. Moving to Saturday though, because I feel like that's the actual highlight of this weekend. Because there's two really good games. Is there one you want to start with?
We'll go chronological. Again, these are neutral site games, but Michigan's playing in Detroit and USC's playing in Los Angeles. I'll just shake my head and stop there. Michigan-Notre Dame in Detroit. We'll get an idea now of how far Hannah Hidalgo can carry this team. Michigan Saturday, USC next Friday. Yeah, like beat Fairleigh Dickinson, Chicago State, Akron. That's a good thing. Actually, yeah, I think it's a good thing that they're looking like a top 20 team against teams that they should look good against. Hannah's averaging a third of their shots. And that's only because they went to the bench a bit in these blowouts. Is she going to take like 50% of their shots when the rotation trims against a top 15 team? 60? Does it matter because she's like unstoppable? I don't know.
I'm interested to see what Michigan does from like a defensive strategy there, right? Because there's like the try not to let Hannah beat you or just like guard everyone else, and can Hannah beat you alone? But I think Hannah can beat you alone. So I feel like you have to try to slow her down. But if she's going to take 50% of this team's shots, like to an extent, I feel like you can kind of be like, well, we could throw a whole bunch of attention at her and let like someone else prove that they can actually make shots for this team.
Yeah, Kassan Prosper has had a nice start as the number 2. KK Bransford has looked decent in her return. There's not much way in the bench production, even in the blowouts. 3 blowouts, 26 points total from the bench. I don't think we really expected Notre Dame, just with all the newness, to have a whole lot in the bench. Is Ayanna Moore hurt? Because she really hasn't played. And that surprised me because I thought she was a nice addition.
I agree, and I don't know the reason, but I didn't think that she would be a bigger contributor on this team, and we haven't really seen that yet. So maybe she is coming up.
Yeah, they're a little banged up.
Yeah.
South Bend Tribune, Moore and Cal should return soon as their injuries are minor, so that makes sense. Because that'll be a nice addition because she's a very good tertiary option. She was there last year at Vandy. Do you want my semi-hot take in regards to Michigan?
Yes.
Wins over Canisius and Harvard. Harmony Turner ain't there anymore. It's not the same Harvard team. I think Mila Holloway is the most important of that sophomore trio. I don't know if she's the best per se. Silas Swords is the one who can obviously explode, puts up more of the highlights. She can hit 5 or 6 threes in a game. Olivia Olson's probably the most consistent and the one with probably the most upside. I'm not a draft expert, but at least that's what it looks to me. But Holloway's the one with the ball in her hands. The very early returns of 19 points a game. 11 assists, 9 steals. She can get to the rim. At the very least, she's the most fun to watch, at least for me.
No, I kind of like that take. Because she's the name that doesn't get mentioned that much, right? Like everyone talks about Swartz and talks about Olson, but she is such a part of that a trio and maybe underlooked a bit. But like everyone's defensive plans to an extent are going to focus on Olson and Swartz too. So she has the opportunity to kind of step up and really kind of fill in that role this year and kind of be that strong third option that it gets a little bit more attention, especially because like this team isn't going to surprise folks as much this year. Like when you had 2 freshmen last year going off, like that surprises a lot of teams. Now they're sophomores. Everyone's scouting them. They know what's coming.
And this is their first chance. Last year, right? It was, this is a good, really talented team. And they just couldn't win that big one. Like they would hang around in the opener with South Carolina and all these, UCLA, USC, whoever. It's like they're close. And then they pretty much beat everyone they were supposed to beat. Now, this is example 1 of can they take that next step and start winning some of these top 15 matchups and put yourself in that conversation to host. Because they weren't really ever in it last year just because the resume just lacked. Like there weren't Q4 losses. There just weren't many like high-end Q1 wins.
Right. And I think when you're talking about hosting in games, like you have to have those high-end wins, right? You have to prove that you belong in that top group and that like you can compete with us in the top group. And well, I mean, they proved last year that they could compete, but they could never really actually pull off the win in this year. I think that's what they've got to do to get there. And they're going to have a lot of opportunities to do that. I mean, they've got this game. They've got UConn in a while. They've got obviously the whole Big Ten slate. But I think that's the next step for this team, even if they don't make that hosting conversation or like hosting group this year, is to like, can you win some of these bigger games and like kind of take it a step forward for next year. And I know we talked to the preseason, like feels like this is a team that might still be like 1 year away because they are still really young, but like make progress from where you were last year.
Their biggest win last year, I know they annihilated Maryland in the Big Ten championship or Big Ten tournament. That was their only win over a hosting team from last year. And frankly, it baffled me that Maryland hosted after losing by 27 points in their last game before the tournament. But yeah, can they take that next step? We'll find out Saturday, which takes us to Los Angeles, South Carolina, USC. South Carolina won by 28 against Clemson. Boy, there's a lot of discourse for a 28-point win on a Tuesday for beating the you-know-what out of Clemson. It's weird to see them without oodles of depth, admittedly. Yeah. They only had 9 scholarship players because Maddie McDaniel is suspended, and based on Dawn Staley's very blunt and short and vague post-game comments, doesn't seem like she's going to be back Saturday.
Yeah, I think when we talked about South Carolina for the past however many seasons, so much of the focus has been on the depth and the fact that it's not one player. It really hasn't been a one-player focus since Aaliyah Boston. I mean, not that it was a full one-player focus when Aaliyah Boston was there, but like you had a clear number one when Aaliyah Boston was there. And it really hasn't been there since then. But you're right, like there's just not the level of depth on this team that we've seen in the past 2-3 seasons with this team where it's like, yeah, they could start the 5 players coming off the bench and probably still beat everyone. So it's a shift. I am interested to see them actually get tested against this USC team because I think like they've looked good so far, but it's just so hard to tell with a team like at the level of South Carolina or UCLA until you see them against like a actual top 15, top 10 type team, because like these are teams we're talking about, like can they win a national championship, and you don't get a whole lot of takeaways from watching them beat Clemson by 30.
And it was weird because Clemson I thought did some nice things in that game, and it was, it wasn't a 30-point game the entire time. It just right. I think they got worn down and it became a laugher late. And I'm not even concerned that South Carolina has a quote unquote lack of depth. It's weird considering what we've seen the last however many years of them rolling 10-11 deep, and now they play like 7 deep. We'll see about the wear and tear if Raven Johnson, Tania Latz, and Tessa Johnson have to play 30 minutes every game. They probably won't. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I'm not concerned. It's an observation. Who guards Jazzy Davidson? Because the first time, another just difference with this team for so long, it was Bree Beal or Bree Hall. Just took the other team's best, basically anywhere 1 through 4.
Yeah.
Now it's Tessa Johnson, probably. Maybe.
Yeah, probably.
Who's guarding Jazzy though?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a good question. I'm interested to see how it plays out because you're right. Like you don't have the like pick your clear like signature defender on this team like you have in the past. It's not gonna be Latson. I think like Latson probably has she's gotten a lot better defensively than where she was at Florida State already, and I'm sure she's going to continue to get better, but like she's not gonna be your number 1 defender. She's also small, so that matchup wouldn't make sense anyway. I feel like it's probably Tessa Johnson, maybe Raven Johnson, but there's a height difference there that's concerning. Just throw like a Joyce Edwards at her. I don't know.
I'm going back to one of the Texas games last year. If it wasn't Bree Hall, it was, I think, Tessa Johnson against Booker. And that's a size mismatch, but Johnson held her own. I think that's mainly the reason I'm going with her. I'm interested to see what it looks like, though. It'll be fun. And I know there's a lot of hype around Latz, and rightfully so. Mm-hmm. This is clearly Joyce Edwards' team. I think. 11 field goals in game 1, 11 of 12 against Bowling Green, 8 of 17 in game 3. I know she's not overly flashy. She's pretty much head down, get to the rim. She's the best rim running big in the country, probably. Dawn Staley told me last year there's no fat to her game. So, yeah, she may not garner a whole lot of headlines. And then you look down and go, oh, she just catches, lays it in, and she has a lot of points on very few shots and a lot of rebounds, and she's very good. And I think she's very clearly the number 1 choice on this team.
Yeah, and I think it probably stays that way. I think as Latson gets more comfortable, she's more of a 1A, 1B, but I still think that Joyce Edwards is going to be the face of this team.
Yeah. USC side, I want to see some semblance of an inside presence. -14 in rebounding against NC State. That's obviously Pierre and Trieger. Well, Okot and Edwards are that. And the Wolfpack got 17 offensive rebounds against them. That's 40% of their misses. That needs to be lower against the Gamecocks. That still hasn't changed.
Yeah, exactly. You are not going to beat South Carolina at a negative 14 rebound margin, most likely. Like, that's just a very difficult thing to do. So yeah, I think they have to clean up on the glass and find ways. And even if they don't have the bigs like they had last year, like you've got like Jazzy Davidson, like we said, is a tall for a guard. Like, she's got to kind of take on that role a little bit of like what Juju used to do and get to the glass and get and help out there. So obviously she's a freshman, it's going to take some time, but I'm interested to see if they can just clean that up a little bit in this one.
And that takes us to a real game at a home venue on Sunday. Let's go. NC State TCU in Raleigh at Reynolds, not Greensboro or Charlotte or made up place that the game shouldn't be at. We'll learn a lot about the Horned Frogs. They've scored a lot. They haven't given up many. No offense to NC-A&T, Sam Houston, and Tennessee State. Step up in competition. Might be the toughest place they go in all year. Reynolds only holds a little over 5,000. That place gets awfully loud.
Yes.
Points in the paint probably going to be hard for either side. Very intrigued. NC State, meanwhile, yeah, another game, another top 15 foe. That's just, apparently it's a Tuesday for them on a Sunday. It is all the time.
Yeah, it's fun that this is in a home arena. I actually don't hate like the Clippers arena for South Carolina USC, because I'm sure that was scheduled thinking you were going to have Juju and it was going to be this big thing, and like they probably would have actually filled that arena in that case.
Oh, I'll be looking at the attendance. Don't you worry.
Yeah, I don't know that they're going to now, but I think if you had Juju Watkins and that matchup was what it was supposed to be, like maybe it wasn't a poor choice. But this one, home arena, fun for NC State to actually get to have one of these big games. They played a few of them. Now they finally get to do it at home. So I'm interested to see it. I think we've learned a lot about NC State already, but I'm more interested in this one from a TCU perspective, because we haven't learned a lot about what they look like against top opponents. First big test, like you said. Excited to see what Olivia Miles looks like. And then their size. I think their size has been so good against these other teams that they've played, but it's, I think, easy when you're just towering over some of these opponents that they've played. Suarez and Silva have been really great, but how does that match up now against an NC State team that we've talked about with Pierre and Trigger that have been pretty solid in the post, and how does that all hang together?
Yeah, they've also loaded up on fast break points. 52, that's obviously a bit of an outlier number. Against Tennessee State, they forced like 30 turnovers, 24 and 18. Largely because of the turnovers, but does NC State try to slow the game down a little bit? Do they lean into that? Because if you play a half-court game, then, yeah, it's size on size. I'm fascinated to see the style of the game on Sunday. And then nothing really good Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I'm sure something will happen, but nothing that caught my eye. And then Thursday, Iowa-Baylor from Disney. Early returns on Iowa. Ava Hayden's sophomore season. Didn't play much last year. She's been great early on. Again, Iowa hasn't played the greatest competition, but 6'4" presence, her and Stokey, okay.
Yeah, like you said, not the greatest competition, but I think it's a lot better to see it in that than to not see it, because if you don't see it against that competition, it's probably not going to show up in a game against Baylor. So I think this one will be an interesting one. It's really the first time Iowa is going to get tested, a Baylor team that has a nice win over Duke already. I think Baylor has to score more in this game than they did against Duke if they're going to have a chance of winning it. I think that's the big thing for the Bears, is just you're not going to beat Iowa with 50 points or 54 points or whatever the heck it was that they scored against Duke.
Yeah, this is a couple of games away for Baylor. They're at UNLV tonight. Curious about that. It might be a homecoming. I haven't looked into it. I just noticed they're at UNLV. They play Lemoyne on Sunday. This is going to be a faster paced game than they played against Duke, or for that matter, Lindenwood. 58 points against Duke, 76 against the Lions of Lindenwood. They were plus 11 rebound against the Blue Devils. Early sign, though this is an Iowa team that can hang down low. And yeah, I'm with you. Baylor might want to try to make this a slower pace game, because if they run up and down, I forgot Chit Chat Wright transferred to Iowa. I love that fit. She was exciting at Georgia Tech. Now she's more of the lead guard there. Yeah, if I still assume Iowa wants to get out and run if possible and score a bunch of points. That doesn't seem to fit Baylor in their MO. No. You got a favorite Disney character? Movie? This game's at Disney. Yes, we're a Disney family.
we were a Disney family as kids too. I'm a big Lion King fan. Lion King is my favorite Disney movie.
Okay. Yeah, my wife we're overlords of Mickey Mouse. She works for Disney. I'd never been until 3 years ago, something like that. Now we go most years because if you work for Disney, you get a lot of perks.
Yeah.
And heavy
What is
discounts
your
on property stays.
favorite Disney movie?
I liked Aladdin as a kid.
Ooh, okay.
And we're currently, if we had to pick one for the kid, he probably would pick Toy Story? Cars? I don't know. He likes, he's addicted. He likes them all. Fitting we end with Baylor because we have a new thing that we're going to do every week now until, again, like a little past New Year's. I mapped it out. So we'll pick a team every week. The whole history of the program. I have 7 schools written down. We'll do one a week, and we'll do a draft of teams made up entirely of players not from those 7 schools. We're going to start with Baylor. Megan and I are going to go back and forth. We haven't really talked about this, so we're going to do this in real time. We're going to draft teams, and you will tell us whose team was better. So, my first question, Megan, are we doing this? Are you familiar with a snake-style draft?
I'm like not a fantasy person, so you're gonna walk me through
that. I didn't want to assume, but I had a hunch. So basically, whoever picks first, the next person will pick second and third, and then you'll pick fourth and fifth and sixth, and so it goes back and forth. I'll write this down. I have my little sticky note here, and I have a very fancy United States quarter. They stopped producing pennies, by the way, the other day. Yeah, no more pennies. A 2008 Oklahoma Boomer quarter. We'll do this football style. This is heads. This is tails. Miss Gauer, you have the call. What would you like?
Heads.
I dropped it. It is heads.
Nice.
You have the first pick of the whole litter. I'm sure you had a lot. We're going to put 10 minutes on the clock. I'm sure you're going to take up all 10 to figure out who you want first overall in your Baylor Lady Bears all-time draft. You go first.
Yeah, I don't think there's a whole lot of debate on this one. It's going to be Brittney Griner. I think this is one where the coin flip matters because there's a very obvious choice for the first player to pick.
Sure is. Okay. I could choose from any of about, 7 All-Americans who scored 2,000 points and had 1,000 rebounds. Baylor grows them on trees, it seems. I'll take the guard. I'll take Odyssey Sims because guards, they're slim pickings.
Yes.
By the way, Brittney Griner was good. And so was Odyssey Sims. She was a 3-time All-American. Brittney Griner was Player of the Year twice, Final Four Most Outstanding Player, Big 12's all-time leading scorer. Probably didn't need to say that, but I was pointing it out. She was good. That's right. I go third. Hey. I will take Sophia Young. Final Four Most Outstanding Player, 05, 2-time All-American, 2,500 points, 1,300 rebounds. Of this very, very loaded front court, non-Brittney Griner edition, I think she's the best. You have the next 2 picks.
Alrighty. For my fourth pick, I'm gonna go with Lauren Cox. I think a lot of the Lauren Cox era at Baylor was like Lauren Cox and Kalani Brown, and Lauren Cox never really got her due because Kalani Brown got a lot of attention, but I always thought she was the better of those 2 players. I think it showed through when they won the championship with her. She was fantastic for them in that. And then I feel like I need a guard, and like you said, there's not a ton of guards on this list.
Yeah, I was mean. I have my own list. I didn't share it with you. We'll share draft research with the opposition.
I'm gonna go with DiJonai Carrington, which is a little less about her time at Baylor and more. I think she's been like one of their better kind of transitions to the pros, and that she's been able to really fit in the Sun and now in the Lynx and after that, and just really contribute at the next level.
Interesting. We didn't talk about, the thought of like transfers had just broken my brain.
Yeah.
She
only played 1 season there, but I feel like a lot of their guards, when you talk about like their best guards, like Chloe Jackson, like another player that 1 season or
Yeah. I have a headache thinking about. I could never. For a lot of reasons, I can never be a coach. That's not my world. I'm just a fan. The thought of the transfer portal and all that entails, and when do they see their family? That's my question. Like football coaches too. When do they see their family?
For
They
real.
don't. It's hell of a life.
Yeah.
Couldn't do it. All right, the next two. All right, history lesson, kids. Did you know that Brittney Griner is not Baylor's all-time leading scorer or rebounder? Go back to the AIAW days. Meet Suzie Snider Eppers, the first female scholarship athlete in school history. 3,800 points, nearly 2,200 rebounds. She still even leads I think she's the program record holder in steals, maybe for a single season. That number seems low. Yes, Suzie Snider Eppers, Hall of Famer. The 6th overall pick in this. And then, like Nina Davis, Kalani Brown, NaLyssa Smith, Maggie Davis Stinnett, like Stephanie Blackman, Danielle Crockram, Lauren Cox. Yeah, you can pick Lauren Cox. Let's pick, which one do I see? Kalani Brown. Sure, she was a 3-time All-American. Nina Davis was only a 2-time All-American. Oh, no. 2,200 points, 1,100 rebounds. Yeah, I'll pick Kalani Brown.
Yeah. Fair enough.
All right, so I have 4. So, yeah, you have the next 2. Yeah.
Okay. A little bit of recency bias probably, but of that group that you were just mentioning, going to go with NaLyssa Smith. I mean, number 2 pick in the draft. Just she was great for them. And then I'll do Nina Davis as well. We're loading up the front courts here.
I mean, yeah, it's Baylor. You got to do that. Okay, so I'll make the last 2 picks here, and then you will get 1 more to round it out. So this is your reserve. I will go with Sheila Lambert. Early 2000s, All-American. She was a guard. She only played 2 years at Baylor, so she's not on really any all-time list. She averaged over 20 points a game, 6.5 assists in her 2 years on campus. I will go with her. Ooh, should have picked Nia Johnson. That's okay. And then with my last pick, someone's going to get snubbed here. I don't know. She probably doesn't fit in statistically, but she's the Final Four's most outstanding player and had the game-winning bucket to win you a national title, so give me Chloe Jackson. If those aren't credentials enough for you, then deal with it. She's on my team. All right, you get 1 more pick. Who's your reserve for Baylor?
This is not really a numbers pick and more of just I loved this player when she was at Baylor, and DiDi Richards. I just thought she was such a fun player, such a strong defensive presence for them. She never really scored that much, but her defense on that national championship team and just was fantastic. I'm a big DiDi Richards fan.
She's the one who got fouled? I'm sorry, didn't get fouled.
No, that was DiJonai. Yeah.
You still have her on your team. Definitely was not fouled in 2021. All right. So, Megan Gauer's team, Brittney Griner, Lauren Cox, DiJonai Carrington, NaLyssa Smith, Nina Davis, and DiDi Richards coming off the bench, National Defensive Player of the Year. Odyssey Sims, Sophia Young, Kalani Brown, Sheila Lambert, Suzie Snider Eppers, and Chloe Jackson. So we will post that to social. You will tell us who wins. Probably Megan, because she got the number 1 pick and picked Griner. So yeah, we'll do that every week. Next week, we got next week. Pick LSU. So that'll be fun. So we'll do this every week. Kills fun 10 minutes. Something that isn't just the doldrums of a lot of bye games, a couple of good ones, a lot of neutral site games. And then obviously we'll come back next week and talk about everything that did happen in the last 7 days and preview what else is going to happen as we're barreling towards Thanksgiving. So we got MTEs. Megan, you enjoy your weekend, and we'll talk next week.
Sounds good.